Hello, adventurers. It is time for another RPG horror story. How y'all doing? Everybody cool?
Hey.
We all good? We ready? We worked up?
Oh, yeah.
We got a pre-workout. We got our testosterone flowing.
I'm ready.
I've had my cup of tea.
I'm ready to be livid.
Got your protein. All right. We got a special RPG horror story because not only are we not taking this from the internet, from someone else who wrote it, we got that good OC this week. We've got a guest. Yeah, someone who legit likes the show for some dumb reason.
We do not have him tied up with a microphone in his face.
And we're not paying him for this either, which is even more surprising.
We do not.
Super fan? Can we refer to him as a super fan?
He's an only fan, super fan.
Only fan is a different thing.
Yeah,
he's our only fan.
Unfortunately, we can't claim that one.
Fans only.
But this is Glen Gretsky. Glen, how you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. How's it going?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, I'm Glen Gretsky. I've known Jason since middle school, 12 years old. I'm sure he's told stories about me on this show before.
I have.
We
some of them were even good.
Yeah, some.
Just so story he's referencing. I have mentioned on the show that I've been playing Magic the Gathering since I was like 12 years old, and we told in an earlier episode about how around that age I learned how to play D&D for the first time, and we learned really, really, really wrong and just played poorly and like not even a real game. Glenn was the one who taught me.
Yes. Well, at least the magic stuff I taught you. We
learned
D&D
the magic stuff. He gave me my first magic cards.
Yes.
But you had enough fun playing it wrong that you kept playing it until you got it right. So,
no,
so that's
I stopped playing
wrong.
until I stopped playing until my 30s.
Oh, okay. Well, but I mean, you came back eventually.
We got
I
there.
guess. So, yeah. All right.
Yeah. Yes, I do remember you were running the board game nights, and I was asking you about other games. And you're like, "Oh yeah, as long as it's not D&D." I'm like, "Oh well, I guess I'm not going to ask you to play D&D with me." And then you started playing on your own. So.
Yeah, because I was running them at a hotel, and it's just like it just was not going to work with the space that they gave me. But I don't have that problem anymore. So tell me about your history with D&D and with gaming.
Okay, so gaming in general, I started fairly young. I had older cousins, like 12, 13 years older, that were huge nerds, worked at comic book stores. So I got into all that stuff real early. Light LARPing, where we pretended we were superheroes and made up our own powers in the backyard and stuff. Then the first role-playing games were at basically 12 years old in middle school at the lunch table, where we were all, well, some of us were very inappropriate with our characters.
That's just being 12, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a combination of 12-year-old boy stuff combined with first-year RPG stuff.
Excuse you. 12-year-old girls are also gross.
So we're, how old are you, Josie?
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you like to know? Nobody can figure it out.
I know.
Well, I mean, the rest of my gaming is a lot of video games. I guess I got back into tabletop RPGs in high school. My friends were playing it. So a lot of tabletop war games, Warhammer 40K, and more D&D, 3rd edition, 3.5, transferred it into Pathfinder after that. Skipped 4th edition, played 5th edition. And then
everybody else.
Well, I would have played 4th edition. It didn't horrify me because I was already into tabletop miniature games. That's kind of what it was, just with a role-playing aspect to it.
All right. So you wrote up a dissertation on one of your poorer games. You sent me the draft so I can read it on the show, and I'm like, I don't even want to read this. Not because it's long, because I don't want to spoil it for myself. So what you're hearing now is a true blind reaction. Glenn telling us the story that we have no idea what's going to happen. Glenn, you good to go?
I'm good. Yes. So, I mean, this story takes place. The system isn't super important, but it is after I've played a lot of D&D. This game is Dystopia Rising, which one of the guys from a gaming group that I was just playing in decided to run right after we ended a campaign. So I was hyped. I didn't know the system. I like learning new rules. There was a lot of people, which was throwing me off. But like I said, we just got through a successful campaign with most of them, and I was ready to go. But it was several years ago, so some of the details are a little fuzzy. And there was at least 8 players and a game master that I can remember, and it felt like more. The other game had like 10. This one had 8. A little much. We were moving to the new system that only the GM, Seth, and his girlfriend, which I'll call Blood to keep her anonymity, and his best friend, which I'll call Uber. And you'll know why we call him Uber. And they're
Real
all
quick,
the
real quick.
problems.
Is it because he
of the
drives
story.
you crazy, or
Was he the ride for most of
He-
the party?
Yes. Yeah.
Is Seth the real name?
No.
Okay.
Seth is not his real name.
Okay, no, because I know a
Yes.
Seth that you and I both know. I was trying to see if he showed up.
And not that it overly matters, but a lot of these players are younger than me. So I would say by a good 10 years, which, I mean,
Oh, that
age isn't,
matters.
to some extent, it does end up mattering. The people I mentioned are the problem players of the story, and the amount of people in the game and not knowing them is usually enough for me to nope out of a game. But since we just finished a big campaign with all the people, I was ready to learn it together with them and give them a shot. The GM played in the game that was just successful as an edgelord, but we made it so silly that there was no way he could have ruined it. Blood made a guest appearance in that game from time to time, and she was weird, but it was fine. She didn't ruin anything, and it didn't like cause any distracting moments. And these details are just to highlight that none of us were strangers, and we kind of knew what to expect RP wise, and we've already navigated new systems with so many people, and it still went way off the rails. So the day we finished the good campaign, everyone except for Uber and Blood were talking about character concepts for the new game. The GM asked if he could use our characters from the previous campaign as guest NPCs in the new game. Getting any kind of useful information out of him about the system or the campaign world was almost impossible. He was giving off vibes that it was a dark and gritty style of game where we were not all necessarily friends and PvP wasn't completely off the table.
oh, good. That's a great way to start out.
Yeah.
I mean, while having inter-table tension or being unlikely companions is fine to me, I did not want to play in a game where damage dice are being rolled against one another or our shit's being stolen by each other. That's just not a game I like to play with my friends around a table unless it's specifically about that.
Yeah, no, those
Which
are
is
the
something
worst.
that should be like, okay, just so you know, you're all gonna fuck each other over in this game.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We love a
I mean,
session zero.
I even explained this to the whole group minus Blood and Uber. And as we wrap up this awful session zero, kind of, the GM states that his plan is for Uber to be starting with some unconventional stuff, but it's going to benefit the party.
Allegedly.
Okay, well,
Allegedly.
whatever. Great. At this point, I'm already guessing that Uber is a turncoat and going to be the real BBEG. The game system itself, he gave us a digital download of the book that he bought on a Kickstarter. So a lot of there was no page number references for anything. So finding anything in the book was super difficult. Like, oh, find on page XXX. Oh, great. But it kind of, you built your characters kind of like a White Wolf game where you bought dots into areas where you wanted your character to excel in. And the more dots you bought, the more expensive it was.
So I'm just going to step in here real quick as someone who has like played a lot of RPGs and known down through the years that Dystopia Rising actually started as a LARP.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a post-apocalypse LARP. So this is the tabletop version of that LARP. So that just that's where we're starting from. There is that it's like a post-apocalypse, kind of wasteland Fallout style LARP. Where people are hitting each other, like you use a stop sign as your shield and stuff like that. But this is a LARP converted to tabletop rules.
That just feels so backwards.
Just so that everybody understands like where we're starting from there. So, but please continue. Sorry to interrupt.
Right, and that was explained to us too at some point that it was a LARP. They might have been in the LARP, but like I said,
they were in the LARP. Oh, they were in the LARP.
If they knew
almost
about
certainly,
it.
almost certainly. So sorry. Please continue your story, and I'll tell you a couple of theories I already have about what's going on here. So,
right.
please go ahead. Yeah.
So yeah, so Seth, Blood, and Uber were probably a part of the LARP. They knew the system. They had played the role playing game of it at least a little bit because they knew the rules way better than everybody else. So with my reading of the rules, I could see that a lot of the rep stuff didn't really have any mechanical benefit except for what the GM's going to give you. So I was like, nope, not for me. And it's a good thing I did too, because the first opening session, all of us have been sold out by the people that are our background. All of us. We were just sold basically to the bad guy. All of us.
Incredible. What a great way to start off.
Wait, that's how it started?
Yes, we were basically
Jesus.
kind of sold into a slavery type of position, but not like actual slavery, but all of us. We were all different
that would be
backgrounds.
problematic.
Slavery light. Yeah.
It was basically do this or you're all going to die. So yes. But I say slavery light is a good way to explain it, because it was like, you guys can go wherever you want and do whatever you want, but it's for our entertainment, so it better be entertaining. And it was weird. Like the BBEG that was introduced to us is supposed to be like this big religious leader that the people all worship TV, and our escapades are going to be televised, and we need to get good ratings. So it's like all the stuff is like modern day stuff subverted in the dystopian future, and everything's like
so
slightly taken out of context.
Almost.
Yeah, kind of, but like a lot of the modern day stuff is taken as like the way things should be, but out of context. And I kind of got that
90s
feeling.
video game was like that was literally pretty much exactly that. We were all on TV and you had to kill each other. It was an arcade game. I'll think of it.
Okay, so there was you're thinking of The Running Man, which was the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing. Is that what you're talking about? With the Richard Dawson was the host, and they were all killing each other, and Jim Brown was in it. An action movie from the 80s.
No, this was an actual game.
So they made a video game that came out a little after that was called Smash TV.
That's the one. That's the one. Yes.
Which like just a couple of months ago, I found an 8-bit arcade that had it, and I just played all the way through it.
It held up.
Nice.
They held up.
Big money, big prizes. Yeah. I love it.
All right, go on.
So yeah, I mean, I got the fact that the vibe was like everything was taken out of context. So even my character, I wanted one of those the Japanese type of trope where you're big into cooking and food. So this guy's name was Rat Tattoo instead of Ratatouille.
Love it.
I like that a lot. That's cute.
Yeah, like an Iron Chef kind of thing. Sure.
Yep. And then even like explaining the concept to Seth, he was like, all right, I guess we can try to make it work. I'm like, all right, just throw me a bone every once in a while. I'll make the role play about it work. And I did. But
that is totally the wrong. When someone comes to you and says that they want to be a martial artist chef, like God of Cooking or something like that, you just say yes. And then make it happen.
It's harmless enough. Just let it go.
All right. So, I mean, the BBEG is telling us that our escapades are going to be televised and we need good ratings. None of this goes against my character motivation of wanting to go explore. So, other than being kidnapped and forced to do it for people's amusement, I'm content to do it. I don't care. I have my own agenda, which is to travel around, find new ingredients, and cook new food. I can do that if it's on TV. I might even make myself a celebrity chef. I can roll with this. It's basically having an evil quest giver that I have to kill eventually.
Fine, I'll do it, but I'm putting a mark against you in the little book I carry.
All the best ones are like that.
I believe the culinary term is long pig for...
You are correct.
For the ingredients.
So when we get out of the BBEG's lair at the start of the game proper, one of the first encounters is at like a hotel where I take first watch and some dudes roll up and start fucking with our shit. We had like a van or something. I go to confront them alone because that's just how I was. Uber somehow metas his way into the scene before anything even happens. He's like, you can't go approach them alone. So from somehow inside the hotel without any noise being made, because all I did was walk up to these people, he like magically appears. No roll, no time delay, no explanation of how he even knew what the fuck was going on. Just I run down there and he's in the scene with me.
Hey, Deus Ex Uber, we call that.
Yeah.
Mhm. I'm like, dude, just let shit play out. I took every defensive option in the game because I don't trust Uber. I'll be fine against 2 guys for 2 rounds, and then you guys can join. Can we just have some interesting scene? Shit, I didn't even attack. They didn't attack.
You're just
Let
standing
fucking
there.
something interesting happened.
Not allowed.
Something interesting happened.
Not allowed.
This interaction sets the whole tone of how Uber acts the whole time. Just jumping into every scene, knowing what's going on, and interrupting when people are trying to roleplay. After that fiasco of a fight, we're introduced to the first of Uber's custom items. This is his truck. At this point, we had 2 separate box trucks by killing some mooks that attacked us. It was in that interaction at the hotel. We got our second truck. This thing is explained to us as some kind of a big rig that can carry everyone. This thing's huge. We all have our own rooms. There's a kitchen. Uber has a broadcasting station to run his own radio station and more.
How
The
did he get
picture
this
he
again?
shows us. It's just his.
Okay.
He bought a retired school bus and had it custom fitted. That's what it sounds like.
In
If
a
it was
nice
only the
montage.
size of a school bus. The picture he shows us is a fucking train engine. To me, it looked like the Phantom Train from Final Fantasy VII. I couldn't remember the name, so when I Google image search FF7 Undead Train, it's the first goddamn picture that comes up.
He just took the same picture.
Yeah, it's fan art, and he only shows us the top left image if you Google that, and he cropped that part of it out. But this mofo wants to be driving an
Googling that
undead
right
train
now, by the
across.
way.
He wants to drive an undead train across post-apocalyptic America. I mean, we all overlook the logistical nightmare of what the
Where's he
upkeep for
getting
this
fuel?
monstrosity would be. But
I need to. I have so many questions.
right, like we all overlook it because
Overlooked.
we all benefit from having a mobile fortress. I mean, whatever. His other custom items weren't explained in as much detail, but I believe they were tried to be kept secret as possible to use against us. He had some kind of armor where he would take like 0 damage, and some sort of weird power glove that did ridiculous damage. And I guess all of his stats were towards being charismatic and like defeating people with words, because he was built into that. So he could do everything. He could take hits, he could deal out a whole lot of damage, and he could damage people with words, because that's kind of the way the game was set up, being different ways to attack. He had everything.
We all know that a character is more fun when he's good at everything.
Yeah. Nothing's more fun than succeeding everything instantly.
You know what's boring? Weaknesses.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to
Flaws
power
to
through.
roleplay.
I'm going to power through a bunch of little issues just to illustrate the kaleidoscope of problems that made up this game.
All right,
It's the
lightning
death by
round.
1,000 cuts,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
All right,
Lightning
rapid fire.
round. Let's
Ready,
go.
set, go.
Blood's RP consisted of living out a blood fetish. Like, oh, I'm going to cut you and save your blood. Blood is so beautiful. I'm going to play with your blood.
Gross.
Uber's RP is him and Blood in this weird relationship where
Gross.
he badmouths her and she wants to cut him, but they're dating, blood fucking. I don't know.
It's
But
called
they're definitely cucking the GM because it's his best friend and girlfriend, and he's just sitting there loving it.
It sounds
The-
like you accidentally got involved in something that you were never meant to be a part
Yeah,
of.
were you actually invited to this game, or did you just?
Were you in the closet watching from a distance?
Or did you
But you don't- you
did you
don't-
fourth wheel your way into this threesome?
There's 8 people playing, and it's just these 2 cucking with the GM.
Did you
and
eighth
the
wheel
6
your
of
way
us
into the
watching.
sevensome?
I hate so many things about this.
Like the whole world is very unclear in almost every aspect. I kind of chalk this up to him, to the GM and Blood and Uber knowing the world, and us as newcomers get overlooked with somewhat on the details. We're in like a fractured California. It's explained as several islands, but I guess it's more like rivers are just separating the land masses and not like seas or oceans, but that's not really explained. So we go from island to island and it takes a big boat, but it doesn't seem like very difficult to get from island to island. It wasn't clear
Because
at
the
all.
big boat.
Our NPCs make an appearance are impotent in almost every way. The NPCs from the other game, and Uber makes a fool of them easily. And the way it was explained is that our NPCs were basically the progenitors of this post-apocalyptic zombie world. Like Seth's character was the mastermind behind it, and the other two NPCs were like the first zombies with him because they were all big buds. But literally, we couldn't do anything to Uber. Not one thing. One session we had was really, really fun. And it was the one session Uber wasn't at.
This sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Ain't that how the way it goes?
Figure a story that was like, oh man, my players accidentally had fun. We're not doing that shit again.
Yeah. There was a side story involving Blood, Uber, and two of the other players that seemed to be the secret main story. The other four of us couldn't give a shit about it. Uber keeps intruding into everybody's RP moments, and it's not always negative, but it is annoying because it's constant. Again, there's a lot of us. We all want to play, but sometimes that means you just need to shut the fuck up so everybody gets to play.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The last and biggest issue was the final showdown. We get back from our first foray into the wilds, and the fake BBE juice shows up and taunts us. Somehow we end up fighting him. Our characters have made no actual progress in terms of advancement. We haven't gotten enough XP to get any more pips or dots or however the level. It's not a level-based game, so we didn't get any skills or abilities. Nothing added to our character sheets, except for I got one non-combat meme magic item. It was like a bowl that, like, if you took something out of, it would cut your hands off. That I didn't even get to play with because Blood wanted to play with it because it cut things in half.
Oh,
Gross.
I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, seriously. We could have had this fight on day one, the first day of playing, and we would have been in the same situation. The only different thing was we were actually missing a player that day. So, and we actually beat the BBEG. No problem.
Whoops.
No casualties. Nobody went down. But that's when things took a turn for the worst. Uber takes it upon himself to start torturing this guy for information. 6 of the 7 other people object immediately. In the game, out of the game, objections all over the place. Our characters say, no, this isn't going to happen. He proceeds to graphically detail what he is doing and how he is torturing this guy.
Just out of curiosity, is this person a convicted serial killer now? Just wondering.
I'm unsure. It wouldn't surprise me. Out of character, we're telling him to stop and that no one is okay with it. And he still keeps going. And we are all done with his shit and decide to ruin his day and attack him. And we can't do anything to him.
He's got that magic fucking armor, right?
Yeah, this is where his house rule custom never explained bullshit armor and weapons come into effect.
I need to get myself some of that +1 plot armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anybody else, just wondering, sorry I keep interrupting you, did anybody else have like these custom items and stuff? Where
not one other person.
Why
had
would
custom
they?
items.
And
everybody else had.
How
stock
dare you
book
assume
items.
that, Josie?
I know, I was hoping.
It's like you've never played this game poorly before.
I don't think we'd be here if we didn't.
I literally had to restat my character to give him the ability to read. So I took points away from like combat and defense to put stuff in so I can read, so my character could read cookbooks. That is the only reason I wanted to be able to read. But we 8v1 kicked the fake BBEG's ass, but can't do anything 6v1 against a player that is theoretically the same power level as us. I mean, he doesn't actually hurt any of us either. And after a few rounds of back and forth, we all just stop the game and it turns into a bitch fest.
Understandable.
That's how most games end,
one of the
actually.
characters that was part of the side/main real story even said, I don't even know why we're playing.
Oof.
It feels like we're all side characters. 4 of us quit right there and started playing a different game in a different system.
It's the NPC Simulator. Love that game.
Yeah. So the first thing I thought of when you started talking about one player getting all these items and no one else did, the absolute first thought I had was that you have one main character and everyone else is a side character. How long did this last?
We played weekly, and I think it was about between 6 and 8 sessions.
Okay, so that's long enough to be like, this is bullshit.
Yeah,
I feel like I would give a game that long before I got fed up.
If it was complete strangers, I would have been out the first day. It was like I said, it was a really, really successful campaign before that, and the guy running that game was playing in this game, and it was only the addition of Seth's girlfriend and Uber.
Oh, so Uber wasn't
game.
in the first one, because I was about to ask how he was in the first one.
Yeah, he was a complete stranger at that point. He was giving people problems before we even started the game, because it was at COVID time, and he was saying how it was fake and his uncle had COVID and he didn't care. And I'm like, dude, it really affects people. You got it. Like, you don't know any of us, and this is what you're coming out with. It just shows your character right there.
Honestly, I am incredibly proud of all of you for not just immediately taking him out back and beating the shit out of him.
I'm actually.
Was this in person or online?
It was 100% online.
Okay. So I'll give you a pass. I'm not beating the shit out of him. I've seen you throw hands before, man.
Dragging him online. Yeah.
But like, even like in other episodes of this podcast, we've talked about like safety rules and stuff. And I'm just mentally keep going back to the graphically describing the torture of this NPC. Like, if somebody's like, hey, that's super, everybody's like, hey, that's super not cool. Like, do not do that. There's no need for that. I'm assuming at least one person was like, this is making me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
All of us said that. Like, literally said, stop. We're uncomfortable. Don't do this. This is not okay. We used all the words to tell him to stop, and he just did not listen to any of them.
What did the DM do at this point? Was he just like, no, I'm going to let it continue?
And he let it ride. He wasn't really... I don't know if he was a newer GM or if he felt uncomfortable because it was his best friend doing it. I don't know.
Do you think he just didn't see a problem with it?
From what you were saying before, with him and Blood's fucking back and forth, sounded like the GM might have been into it. So,
it's hard to say, right? So, again, they're in their early 20s, so like probably still in college if they were in college.
Gotcha.
Figuring themselves out, he was playing an edgelord, so I think he kind of wanted that type of experience for this game, and maybe some of that fit into his world fantasy.
I got either that impression
afterwards.
I either got that impression or that he was just in way over his head and didn't know how to stop it.
There was a lot of people. I mean, it's hard to run a table of 4 people as a new GM, let alone 8.
Eight seems insane to me. I don't even think 8 sounds fun.
Yeah, I'm decently experienced running games, and 6 is my limit.
Yeah, I mean, the game before ballooned up to like 10, which got to an unreasonable amount. But it started at 4, and then added some, and then added some. So, and then everybody was cool with it. So, it got to the point. It got to the point where it was unplayable, but that was at the end of the campaign. So
I don't want to be 2 games.
Yeah, honestly,
I don't want to be in a room with 10 people for any reason. Much less playing a chaotic game.
You're a sound engineer. You're constantly in a room with more than 10 people.
Just because
those are NPCs to me. Okay,
want to.
But that's where the origin as a LARP thing comes in too. Because if you run it as a LARP, you can have 20, 30 people because you've got multiple GMs, people are breaking off into groups and all this kind of stuff and everything. But like, if you don't understand the difference between trying to run it as a LARP and run it as tabletop, you might be like, oh yeah, 10, that's no problem. That's actually a small group for when we get together on the weekend and play it as LARP. But like, no. When you do it as a tabletop game, and like this whole phenomenon that you're describing is such a LARP thing. Because if you have ever played a LARP at a convention what can happen sometimes is like, hey, they're doing this LARP of this game that sounds cool. They're doing a supernatural Western thing or something like that. And you sign up to go play. And then there's like a core group of people who play this game all the time. And they have these like way leveled up characters. And then they like give you what basically amounts to an NPC. And I would bet you money that Uber was getting the experience he earned at the tabletop, he got to apply to his LARP character and take it back to the LARP. I bet you money that is what was going on there.
Especially
was that like, yeah, I mean, given the way that you've described it, he had all this super leveled up gear and stuff like that. He was bringing his LARP character into your tabletop game, doing whatever the fuck he wanted, knowing that his friend wasn't going to kill him off. He had no risk, and whatever XP or whatever advancement system they used to figure it out, he could take that. You chumps have fun or not, who cares? Because his LARP character, then goes off with another half a dozen sessions.
Oh, especially since, Glenn, you said they had like secret sessions.
Yeah. Oh, that's just
not secrets. It was like a weird side story that I guess he was trying to tie into the whole main story, to where like they had like secret plots going on.
Oh, that's another tote. That's such a fucking LARP thing. The like secret knowledge and like, we're going to go into another room and have a conversation for like half an hour before we emerge again and stuff. Oh, Christ. No.
I'm looking through the Dystopian Rising, like their sanctions and corrective actions. And like, based on the layouts of like, what is a sanctionable action? Like, their behavior is not okay in the LARP either.
Sure, which may have been why they took it to the tabletop, is because they knew they
couldn't get away with it
in the LARP when other people were watching. And also, when did this happen, Glenn?
It was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, okay. So like, it's not like it was a decade ago before anybody figured out safety tools or anything like that. So
right,
yeah.
You said this was like right about like start of lockdown, right? Like early COVID stuff.
Yeah,
puts us on roughly 2 years at this point.
I hate thinking about that.
I know,
but it's not even like we didn't have a session 0. We had one with everybody except for Blood and Uber there.
Oh my God! Okay,
and then the two problem characters arrive.
Right,
like even when the GM was like, there might be some potential PvP, or I looked at the whole group and was like, I'm not okay with PvP. I like you guys. I want to have a good game. If you want to have some intertable tension or not be friends while we're playing, sure, we can work through that. Those are role-playing points.
Right.
And even
that's fine.
Like a little PvP, I'm actually sort of okay with, as long as it's just like drunken bar brawls or something, not some bitch casting
and
fireball.
Even then, that's very different.
Yeah. But like, here's my thing about like post-apocalyptic dystopian world settings in general, is you can tell a lot about a person by what they think their role would be within that dystopia. Because like people, they're like the doomsday preppers that have like if there's an apocalypse, you're going to have to do a lot more collaboration than just like zombie hunting. You don't need 30 different kinds of guns. You're going to need to know how to fucking garden and make baskets. And
which is
like
the player class where you just stay inside and cry. That's what
and I agree. And like a lot of the characters were, you could tell how they wanted to play the game by things they chose. Like me and the GM from the other game, we were like, let's know each other. So I was Rat Tattoo, the cook that wanted to go around and find things and cook them. And he was Wesley Cactus Seed, who went around and liked to plant things. And he was pulled around a little wagon. That was his little herb garden that I used to cook food. And
like I love that as like a concept, not just for this game, but in the context of like dystopias.
When you get a character motivation that is not money or death or anything like that. I just had a friend who I also think she listened to this show. Shout out to Melissa. She just wrapped up a campaign that lasted for like 2-3 years, and their whole parties thing, not even just her character, the whole parties thing is they ran an intergalactic food truck. And they were going planet to planet trying to find exotic ingredients. Of course, she had the chef feat. She's also a chef IRL. So it was just cool flavor stuff.
But yeah, I mean, even in the game, like I was looking up recipes and like trying to find stuff to cook. Like one of the interludes that we had was like we're at a port, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to make a little food wagon and sell dumplings.
Yeah.
And even like Uber got into it. He was on the radio, like trying to advertise for the wagon cart, which was cool. It was like, okay, you can have good role play moments with this kid.
Sure.
It like kind of brought it back a little bit, but it was very, very.
But he just wanted to be a gross edgelord murder hobo.
In the end, yes.
Mm.
Like I was trying my best to just like get everybody involved with silly stuff. Because that's how you make connections in RPGs.
The real problem is that the player wanted to be the main character, and the GM was enabling that. Just and not even just enabling it and making it not only possible but easy, and making it so there's no other option for this player to be the main character. So you got 7 NPCs sitting at a table waiting for their turn to interact with the main character, and that does not sound fun. That barely sounds fun for the main character. Anything else?
I don't know. You guys have any questions for me about the game or what decisions were made and why?
Would you play in a different setting, like with different people, not Blood and Uber? Would you play Dystopia Rising as a tabletop again?
I'm weird in that I like different games. You know, I'm not like a one flavor type of person. Like it's not D&D all day for me. I'll play any game anytime as long as it's fun and I'm playing with people that I enjoy being around.
Like using games as a social interaction tool.
That's weird. That's weird.
These are not RPG horror story ways of thinking, Glenn.
Like I honestly like learning new rule sets and playing with them.
Sure.
So like if somebody's like, do you want to play this RPG that we all played before? Or do you want to learn something new? I'm like, give me the new book. I'll read it and learn it in half an hour and we'll roll.
Oh, you know what? I have a question, which is, were you guys like on Zoom or something like that? Or was this like just a Discord voice thing? Like, could you see the expression on each other's faces as this was happening? Or was it were you just listening to each other?
We were just listening. It was Discord.
Oh, okay.
It was Discord voice with the Roll20 tabletop.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
nobody was using nobody was using camera.
That's because like, boy, I like Zoom is, it's always better to play face-to-face sitting at a table. But boy, being able to actually see people on Zoom, their eyes widening and their jaws dropping, does a lot of work to help the GM go, oh, maybe I should pull back on this. Because if all you hear is silence, when, somebody starts doing their blood doll fan fiction, that's, you don't necessarily know how to interpret that.
Their hostile cosplay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love blood play. It's like, that's cool. Keep your kink in the fucking bedroom.
Yes. Thank you.
None of us are willing participants in this. You are violating my consent.
Yeah, and she did take blood from all of us to have little vials of.
No.
In the game.
In the game.
Okay.
No. Oh no. Yeah.
You scared me so bad. Like she just show up to your house.
Her character took blood from all your characters.
Yes.
Allegedly.
Oh,
that's an important stipulation to make because it doesn't sound like she had much distinguishing things between.
Also, if it was IRL, I feel like you should have led with that in the story.
If you showed up to my house with a syringe and a vial, it's like, okay, this is for character development.
And then it got worse.
The punchline is, Oh man,
dude, Glenn, thank you so much for being our first guest on the show and actually having a listener story for us. We want to do a whole bunch more of these. If you got other stories, I'd love to hear them.
That's legit one of the more horrific stories we've heard, too.
Yeah, honestly, that's an actual horror story.
Hat tip for that one. That's for having lived through that. Yeah.
There was a lot more. I tried to edit a lot out, and
I'm so sorry you had to even deal with the parts that you told us. I shudder to think about what you kept from us.
Honestly, if there's other parts of that story, I'll take a part 2.
I'll have to think. I mean, I still play with the other people that left the group with me. We play weekly.
Well, then they can submit their stories too. Glenn, any
down it left a taste? Yeah.
Anything online that I can send people over to for you? Do you have anything to plug?
Do you wish to be received on social media?
Why you got the stage?
I do not. Everybody can leave me alone.
Perfect.
God bless.
Josie is at Goblin Scratcher. Scratches.
It's Goblin Scratches. I'm
Goblin
not
Scratches.
scratching the goblin. I am doing the scratching.
Is it Goblin Scritches?
No, it is at Goblin Scratches.
Josie's at Goblin Scratches. Jim is at Jim Likes Games. Greg is here, and I'm at Jason Portizo. Our guest was Glen Gretsky. Glenn, thank you so much, man.
Oh yeah,
for having
thanks,
me.
Glenn.
Thank you
Thanks.
so
That was a
much.
great
That was
story.
That was wild.
And thanks you all for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Curmudgeons and Dragons. Please share this with your favorite adventurers. Leave a review on Apple and follow us on social media. All links can be found at curmudgeonsanddragons.com. Practice safe adventuring, my friends.
This has been a JTP Audio podcast. Thanks for listening.